Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today here on Prenatal Alliance series of interviews. Today we have from India Yukta Mukhi. She's a student of Siddha Yoga Sadhana, and she has won in 1999 the title of Miss World. And she is also a mother and an initiated into ancient wisdoms. She's a certified prenatal educator and a lifestyle coach for sustainability in chemical-free and earth-friendly modern urban living. Thank you so much, Yukta, for being with us today. We're going to talk about prenatal education. It's such a dear topic for me and for Prenatal Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, Susan. We were having such a wonderful time before we started recording.
Yeah.
And we can pick it up right there
Yeah.
um, on the thread of how modern society is constantly asking women to question themselves and bringing in this element of doubt or guilt about why we're taking decisions the way we do, whether it's before we become mothers, when we become mothers, we continue being mothers, just sort of how we've engaged with somewhere traditional practices, yes, and somewhere with a lot of what the internet information seems to be, I would use the word corrupting our moral values and really confusing young people today with the wrong information. So I was loving hearing when you're sharing with me as a mother of three versus me being the mother of one child, that yeah, it's, at times when we're battling with these decisions and the child wants something because his friends want to do this and he wants to be with his friends, and how
Yeah.
as a mother we're really guided so well with our instinct and with our gut feeling, as you said, that inner voice is just telling you, no, this is not right for my child, and I'm so not comfortable saying yes. And I loved it when you said no is a no, it's not a half yes, and it's non-negotiable. Like, that's what I
Yeah.
tell myself. It's non-negotiable. If you came to me five more times, my answer is not going to change. Like, that's the hard boundary here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that what you said is really right. We if we are connected with our instincts and as a woman and also as a mother, and if we stick with that, if we are used to connect with that inner part of ourselves and validating for several times that you have been right when you heard your inner voice, right? So it's not
Yes.
just your imagination, it's not your insecurities that are talking. It's something deeper inside of you that is telling you it's not yet the right time for your child. I must say that then it gets easier, but still
Yeah.
society or sometimes our partners or our family still always, are here to, is that really what you want to do? And you're always second guessing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I also learned is, and this happens because I'm aware of what prenatal education is, what that we are creating and inspiring a whole new human life inside of
Mhm.
our womb. So that's when our life journey really starts, not just when we are born, but it's in our mother's womb that when we are gifted with her reactions, with her emotions. We are learning about what is the outside world from everything that she's experiencing in her pregnancy. So throughout my pregnancies, especially the second and the third one, when I knew more about that
Mm.
connect me even deeper with my inner sense, that my inner wisdom, and it helped me to trust my instincts and to give time. This is another thing. We need time for pregnancy. We need time to deliver a baby. We need time to educate a child. And we need time for to understand what is really our inner instinct. So sometimes society is always asking for a quick reaction from ourselves. You look at your phone, you go out, you see, marketing, publicity, what you want to buy, is this, is that. So it's always quick, very quick. But these things, the evolution of our coming back to our inner self, to our instincts, take time. And making a decision, even, if it feels like a simple one, should he go out with this party to his friends or not? It seems like a simple one, but my instinct takes time. I'm giving myself time to decide. I'm respecting my being receptive to a higher self, a higher energy to flow into my heart and tell me what is the right decision. And I think that sometimes we are always being blocked by wanting a quick answer, wanting a quick reaction. And then we feel guilty because maybe our first instinct would be this, and then we decided that. Okay. So that's what, just to put our audience here in
And that's sort
context.
of really, yeah, and I agree with you because of the, as I was saying, because of the influences that is coming towards us with the internet, it's almost like an assault on the senses all the time, where not only are you second guessing yourself or feeling guilty for not letting your child have the extra candy or the junk food, which you know is not even healthy for them, and you know that it's not worked well for them in the past. But it's also, as you very beautifully said, that from the time that the child has been in the womb, and we can say from our own experiences, when we are in our mother's womb, we're not only taking in the food and the nutrition on a physical level, we're not only taking the feelings and the thoughts on a subconscious level, but we're also taking in her sense of self and self-respect and the way that she connects with herself on a very unconscious, deeply spiritual level. And that, I think, is the biggest gift that we can give to our children, is knowing themselves enough to say, hey, this is my boundary. This is not what I want to do, and even if they come under peer pressure or they come under, whether it's as teenagers or whether they come under societal pressure as adults, they know that that is the line they will not cross towards taking any unethical decisions or something that's not true for them. And I think that gets reinforced, as you said very rightly, when we take time, we demonstrate and model for them that behavior, that I'm just going to check in with my inner voice and I'm going to trust that instinct. And whether you get upset or like it or not, this is the decision. And I feel that the healthiest families and children, when they grow up into good, strong, well-functioning adults, is when they know they've been protected by their parents in that manner, because they don't have the ability to decide. They don't have the prefrontal cortex, which is not yet ready to make those decisions and understand the consequences of what they're going to choose. So very important. That's really brings to what I wanted to share as the core value of mothering and prenatal education, or even tying back into our previous talk last week when we spoke about menstrual practices, and just saying, hey, you know what? My body just needs rest for 3 days of the month. I'm just going to take off and I'm not going to be apologetic about it or have to defend and justify why do I need this rest. And of course, we shared the scientific, some of the scientific aspects of it. And, just sort of women need to now come forward and in society and bond together in community and support each other and encourage each other in the circle of sisterhood, where we say, hey, I understand that, you're going through this, and I'm here to support you in whatever way that you need me to be there for you. And that allows us to feel seen, to be heard, to be understood. Then we're not looking for outside approval from people who've never menstruated, which primarily is the male class who's trying to market things to women and tell them how not to feel or how dirty you are or how unhygienic it is, which is not true to begin with. So, yeah, we're not going to get into bashing up the corporate market and how they're trying to sell things to women all the time and making them feel that they're not naturally beautiful unless you use that shampoo or that makeup product or that perfume. But really, for us to embrace our own inner self and therefore our beauty in every aspect of our lives, and that's being feminine, that's being strong and assertive. And I think that's what really women need today.
Yeah, Yukta, one of the things that I think that it would be great for you to talk about is about the traditions of India in terms of the understanding of how important it is, the time in the womb, for the development, physical, spiritual, mental development of a baby. Because, oh my God, I've learned so much of what you do, not only in terms of what was done, but what is even today done to help those women's and babies to come to a world where they don't feel that they need to be afraid or stressed all the
Yeah.
time.
So traditionally, yes, Susan, we've been, taught, and it's been heard and it's understood, and it's kind of a very commonly sort of accepted norm that when a woman is pregnant, you don't disturb her with um, things that the world is worrying about, whether it's war, whether it's politics, whether it's a family dispute, whether it's some business problem that the husband may be having. It's generally kind of a sort of a way that everyone will make sure that they don't raise their voice around her, or she may be sensitive to loud noises. She must not go and watch movies or expose herself to conversations of other people gossiping. And it's kind of the tradition that woman sort of then starts engaging more in about, oh, what does she feel like eating more, and maybe the baby likes that more, and she should spend more time in chanting or prayer and worship and whatever deity or whatever form of God or the divine that she connects with. Just ensuring her well-being and ensuring that she's joyful in every aspect of the pregnancy and also pre-pregnancy, also before they conceive, making sure that she's healthy. She doesn't, I mean, now maybe with a lot of the modern culture seeping in and a lot of westernization in our society, we do find young women, smoking and drinking, but otherwise we've not been a society that even looks at those kind of unhealthy practices. I mean, it's just completely no. It just doesn't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
So, having said that, yes, a woman starts preparing her body by either exercising, she takes extra time off from work if she's been working too hard or she's been traveling too much, then she slows that down, and it's almost like preparing the nest, like how you take time off and make the space, and I'm going to give more attention to my womb and my health and the time that I spend with my family. And it's not just about setting up a basket or a baby cot and saying, okay, we're setting up the room and we're planning to get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
It's really more about inviting the soul and mentally and spiritually and emotionally being in a space where you're so ready to take on the responsibility of being a mother.
And there
So
and there are this nucleus of Garba Shankar where you guys are able to go to a place where this practice is, even for women that are not so acquainted with it or not used to it, they are able to learn. And these are practices. It's not only for women, it's especially for the babies inside the womb.
yes, and also there's many programs now in the modern day where they're running it with the couples going together. So the husband is also then, sort of not initiated, but more or less introduced to certain things which he may or may not have grown up. Because, as I said, we've become quite a bit of a nuclear family setup as well in cities, and the community living and the joint family structure that used to be prevalent before is not so longer. Um, I mean, it's there, but it's not so intimate and it's not so entwined into our daily lives as it used to be. Even I'm talking about even 35, 40 years ago when I was a child and I was part of a larger family setup, and we used to meet more frequently, and there was always something going on with someone else or the other, whether it's cousins or aunts and uncles. And it kind of educates you about the processes of life and understanding, oh, the elder child is going to help taking care of the newborn baby, or the mother is nursing the baby and so the room door is shut and you don't disturb her for the time being, or you make sure that she's fed on time, and if she's sleeping then the baby doesn't get disturbed. And just small respectful practices within the household as well, But in terms of Garba Sanskar, when you do bring that up, it's surely allowing women to understand more on a deeper and scientific level, because now everyone wants to question, why do I need to do this? And a lot of it has been because of the colonialization of education and culture, the wrong information that has been passed down, or there's a lot of Western medical interference from doctors and a lot of tests and gynecology that has messed it up instead of supporting it, especially in a country like India, is a dismissing of things, So there's a lot of, we find a lot of women saying, oh, I don't need to do this. I'm fine not doing this practice. Oh, my grandmother may have done it, but I think I'm cool and I don't want to continue the tradition. And they used to do it in my mother's side of the family, or they used to do it in my grandfather's side of the family, but I don't feel called to it. And so that dismissing it is being done out of ignorance, not so much out of choice or an informed decision, which is very sad. And we really need to wake up to it. So coming back to answer your question, the Garba Sanskar classes or the workshops or the programs that are now being conducted are really to bring more awareness of what were the scientific benefits of the traditional practices that were followed in our culture. And so then allowing the men as well to support the women in such a way that, of course, they get more bonded with the baby while the mother is pregnant. And they also understand how the baby is developing month to month. How is it going to change first trimester, second trimester, third trimester? How does she prepare? So the high point of the whole journey for a woman in India, really till today, is that she does go to her mother's house when she's about in the 7th month. So up until the 6th month, she's allowed to travel. And maybe, as I said, 7th month, because in the ancient days, traveling was really far and they would do it by foot or by horse or however, carriage systems as well. And it would take a few days or maybe even a couple of weeks to really reach back to her maternal home. But then she would feel more comfortable being with her mother, and there were midwives and there were doulas, and it was a done thing. She's going to deliver the baby at home. And she's going to spend 40 days after the delivery of the baby. Only after that is she then allowed to return back to her marital house. And so that is something that, women still do give themselves the luxury of. And in case they can't go to the back to the mother's home, then we find in a lot of situations that the mother and the mother-in-law both are present for the couple, because if the husband is working, he may not be able to dedicate that level of time and attention, which of course a new mother and a newly born baby require, whether it's taking the household chores, providing for their needs, food, sleep rhythms, watching the baby, changing their nappies. The other thing that is also has been very deeply followed is ensuring that the mama gets a massage during pregnancy and post delivery as well, for the baby and for the mother. So it helps in allowing more blood circulation. It's more of there's always that loving touch and kindness and feeling of warmth. And when you're oiled, it helps relieve your nerve endings, which is your sensory system. It allows you to relax in case the woman is having some kind of issues physically, she's feeling uncomfortable especially towards the final months of pregnancy. So yeah, there's a lot of foods as well that are traditionally followed. I may not have all the English names, but there are certain mixtures that are given in order to help strengthen her bones, in order to strengthen the body of the baby. And even, as I said, post-delivery as well, helping to have better lactation, having to support, the baby being breastfed for as long as possible, and just several other things, just making sure that the mother is aware when the baby is now either constipated or is, avoiding certain foods that's not good for the babies. They'll get colic. So these are just generally have been very naturally passed down from generation to generation and have become so accepted that that's just the way it is. Having said that, as I mentioned before, that because of the modernization of so many different kinds of foods and restaurants and socializing, and it's not everywhere that women are going to be honored and respected, that men will stop smoking around pregnant women or not have loud noise in the restaurants, or there's so many things that we can't really control, and it's out of beyond our scope of reach. having said that, it's up to a woman. And as we were coming back to where we started, it's really up to women to start asserting themselves and saying, no, this is not okay with me. I'm not comfortable eating this food. Therefore, I'm not going to socialize with this group of friends, or whatever it may be. Like really being so in tune and in connection with her own self and her sense of belonging within her body, that that's actually the greatest gift she's going to pass on to the next generation. So we really want women to now understand and honor and respect with the value that we used to have these practices. Is what is the wisdom behind these traditions? It's not just simply being done for the sake of it, or there's no superstition behind it. There's deeply rooted science, and of course we can break it down into each aspect and get into the details of it as we go further along. But in overall, I think I'd like to summarize and say it's high time everywhere. I'm not just saying for India or for the West, but just generally between men and women, to have better conversations about these things, and be happy to unlearn. Because as most mothers know who are listening to this, and you and I can confirm it from our journeys, is that whatever we thought about life really comes crashing down when you have a child, and you have to really question all your belief systems as well. And children are here to teach us so much about ourselves and how we negotiate and how we give in and when we don't give in, and when we love them and when we cuddle up with them, and when we learn to put them in a way where they learn to self-regulate. So there's so much that starts happening in terms of choosing differently in life. So just allowing yourself to say, hey, maybe I don't know a bunch of things, and maybe it's time for me to really become a student of life and unlearn what I thought I knew about life or motherhood or children, or what I may have judged about other parents, until you get on the journey yourself. There's always
Yeah.
a challenge.
That's one of the things that I always say about, becoming a mother is you don't become a mother only when your child is outside of you. You become a mother right there when you start thinking about having a baby. That's when your journey to motherhood really starts. And when you are in that moment and you start questioning everything, you're on the right path. Because these souls are ancient masters. They come with this beautiful essence of love that
Yes.
impregnates our body and our mind. And it's wonderful when we are able to rethink even values, even things that were that we thought were truth for us, and suddenly we are questioning everything. Yeah, it's a big transformation. It's a big initiation in itself when
Yeah.
we become a mother. That's why, and it's such a mark on our lives that we start even in simple conversations, and they ask us, oh, okay, when did this happen to you? Suddenly your life is, oh yeah, that was before I was pregnant, oh that was after my pregnancy. It's
So
such a
true.
mark, it's such an initiation in itself, because it totally transformed us. And this is something that sometimes it's hard for people to understand, maybe for people that have never had a child, but it's physical and psychologically so intense in our bodies that some things will stay the same. But for most of us that are sensitive and can tap what is going on in terms of energy and spiritually, it's a wonderful journey. It is challenging. I just had a mother coming to me yesterday, and she was saying, I'm going through a very tough time in my life. It's affecting me deeply. I don't want to cry, because each time that I cry, it affects my baby. He starts moving and moving and moving, and I know that he's stressed out. And I say, well, but you need to move through emotions, because how are you going to teach your child that emotions can be overcome?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not going to be always pink and roses. It's wonderful when you have a partner there, or a family, a support system that it's there with you to help you out. But sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's a lonely journey. And hey, we can do it. We have been doing it for millions and millions of years. And I think you are so right when you say women need to stand up. They need to stand up, because it's enough of having a system that is pushing us down. No, we are the creators of generations. We have that power, so we can change the world if we tap into that power.
And just sort of, bringing crystallizing or sort of closing the subject between menstruation, prenatal wisdom, and the practices that we do, and what you're saying. Not only is it an initiation, but in the ancient cultures, when we were matriarchal societies, the community really depended on women for the wisdom that they channeled. It was almost like, as you said, the ancestors or the ascended masters were speaking through the woman. And so when she was menstruating, she was really given the honor of deciding for the whole tribe what are the decisions that we must be making, or what actions we should be taking, or what food should we grow, where do we relocate as a whole, whenever they were herdsmen or they were living with agricultural practices. And the same holds true when we become women. As you said, it's a spiritual initiation. It's really the soul of the child is giving birth to a mother. And science may prove it today and say, hey, they found the baby's cells in the mother's brain, and that should explain how a mother knows what the child wants, or she feels into her child's needs. And not only are we teaching this to our children, as we said, through modeling and through self behavior, like sort of really demonstrating it to them, but also that itself lays the foundation of how society needs to structure itself. We need a whole new blueprint on how we are to now navigate our way forward with all this technology going around, disconnecting us from our wombs and our bodies, and most importantly, disconnecting us from nature. We're having children with learning difficulties, we have children with allergies, we have children with so many different kinds of problems, and medical science is not going to be able to answer those unless we just learn to go back to traditional practices, whether it's Ayurveda, whether it's energy healing, whether it's praying and asking for guidance from the spiritual worlds, seeking for answers from the ancestors, and having reverence for those things, not, as I said, not just dismissing it off. Oh, that didn't work for my mom, so I'm not going to do it. Or that didn't work for my aunt, and she went down the wrong side. And it's the way that we learn to discriminate that will allow our children to know and listen to their voices and say, my inner voice is telling me one thing and the outside world is telling me something else. And I need, as you said, I need to learn to regulate my own emotions about in this situation. And that's how we will bring about healthy adults and leaders into the society for the future generations, for the planet to be restored back to its natural balance, for us to live in harmony with the animals, with other people from other cultures, and just bring about more conversations where we can have safe space and more trust and more bonding, and just better understanding about how we have to coexist. I mean, we can't have one fragment of society consuming all the resources and creating so much of carbon footprint and creating so much of pollution, and then there's the other side of society that's busy trying to upcycle and recycle and save the planet, and let's not use so many chemicals, and let's not use processed foods, and it's not going well for our brain, for our psychology, for the way that we are, because we are what we eat. And if we're going to be part of this ecosystem, then we really need to rethink our ways and come back to more feminine ways of leadership and feminine ways of running the economics of the world as well. I mean, of course, that's a larger conversation, but I'm just saying that it's only begins when a woman starts feeling confident within herself. She has self-esteem, self-worth, is something that is an integral part of her daily conversation within her own self. It's just
definitely. And Yukta, I think we are going to have many more conversations on so many topics that can highlight good things on our audience. I want to thank you so much for being with us today, and I hope we schedule another time to talk even more about things that are so important in our daily lives.
I look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you. And
so
all
much
to the Prenatal Alliance as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.